Hello and welcome to the round so far, brought to you by Amy. I'm Riley Beveridge. This is Kane Cornes. Kane, we're halfway through the season. We're into the bye rounds. Let's get straight into it tonight and we'll go to our big story. It's a massive story. Harley Reed, the number one pick, could be out of the Rising Star running.
Will be out of the Rising Star running. Yeah, there's no way he can get away without a suspension for this dangerous tackle. You can look at it there now. We're looking at it thinking it'll be careless, medium and high, which will be one game. We've seen Harry Jones from the Bombers get one game for a far less severe tackle than that. So, yeah, I thought it was really reckless and really dangerous. He's lucky that Wilson didn't have a concussion, but you can see him hit his head clearly. There was frustration from Harley Reed. We'll get to the reasons behind that, but the big news is that Sam Darcy's been suspended. Harley Reed has been suspended. The betting on the Rising Star has been suspended, and it's a huge story to come out of that loss for the Eagles tonight.
The irony is it could put Darcy Wilson, the man that he tackled, in the front-running seat for the Rising Star award. West Coast coach Adam Simpson speaking about the incident after the game.
Yeah, I can't. You know, you want to free up the restrictions around comments about tribunal umpires, then we're going to have a good conversation, but I'm restricted a little bit, so I thought there was nothing in it. That's what I'll say.
Bit of tongue-in-cheek there, you would think, from Adam Simpson. Clearly there is something in it. Clearly there's a big issue for them. Now, the further question is, should that be an element in the Rising Star? Should there be a fairest element to that? I don't either. Like, it's a bit farcical that we're going to get to Rising Star night and Darcy and Reid can't win it, and the next best, almost like Stephen Bradbury at the Winter Olympics coming home late and claiming it. Whoever wins it won't really feel deserving of the award. So that's the separate issue to it. But the big story was that he was on fire in the first half, and he was the one that really lit the fuse for them from stoppage. 7 clearances in the first half, and this is what happened in the second half. So there's the first half, 17, 7 and 6. 3 touches, no clearances and 1 tackle in the second half. I cannot believe, and I've said this for a couple of weeks, why teams that play against West Coast, yes, he's a first gamer, yes, he's a 19-year-old, don't go after him like this, because Windhager was magnificent. You can see the frustration there. 4 free kicks he gave away in the second half. Now, clearly he's still working with his endurance and his work rate and his ability to work from contest to contest, and that will come, but right now that's not at that level. And then a crucial moment where he gave away another undisciplined free, remonstrating with umpires. So he'll have a target on himself now. This is AFL footy, and I think you'd be stupid if you play against the Eagles and you don't tag Harley Reed after what we saw tonight.
The other thing to consider with that potential suspension looming over Harley Reed is that they play North Melbourne on the weekend. The Kangaroos will be gunning probably for their first victory of the season at Optus Stadium next week, so Harley Reed likely to miss that one. St Kilda, it was a neck and neck game throughout in this contest at Optus Stadium until they broke the game open in the last quarter. 5 goals to 2. Mason Wood was the difference. He had 22 touches, kicked 4 goals, including 3 in the final term.
He was huge, wasn't he? Wood, yeah, 8 marks, 7 disposals and 3 goals, as you said, in the last quarter. So he was big. It was a bit more unpredictable there forward line. Max King went off with that knee injury. Not sure how serious that was. He went off, came back on, but then couldn't go. So they subbed him out, and then this is the last quarter where they kicked 5 goals. The Saints have struggled to kick 5 goals at times for a game this year, so they'd be thrilled with that. It was an average game of football. You can tell that these two sides are bottom 4 worthy. There'd be a little bit of hopelessness, I think, from both supporter bases, at least for the Eagles. They've got Harley Reed and a bit to look forward to with the future. For the Saints, they get the win, which is a relief for Ross Lyon, who's been under pressure, but the way they played, there was no signs that there'd been any sort of turning of the corner.
You mentioned Max King. They're going down with a knee injury. Hope that's all right. He'll surely get scans later in the weekend. Let's get to GMHBA Stadium, where Geelong, they got a fright early against a pretty poor Richmond side. Richmond's been poor throughout the year, but they were 29 points up late in the first half before Geelong kicked 10 goals to 3 in the second half.
Yeah, they were slow, weren't they? Surely Richmond aren't going to go down there and win, but it was a bit hairy there for the Cats at one stage. The third quarter was big. They kicked 6 goals to 3. It was 10 goals in the last quarter to 3. They smashed them in the last quarter in terms of entries and basically just outworked and overran Richmond. And Dempsey there, you see, he had 29 and kicked 3 and only gained 19. What a pick in the rookie draft that he has been. Neil kicks this one, but yeah, it was, if you look at the stats, you go, how were Richmond so close for so long in this game? I think they only had 38 entries for the game. So ground balls plus 20 odd in Geelong's favour. Heaps more of the footy and 20 to 3 inside 50s in the end. And they actually got their stoppage game going. So I thought Atkins was excellent, 10 clearances. Holmes has been a star all year and he was great again tonight.
Well, remarkably, they were 29 points up, Richmond. They perhaps should have been further in front because their set shot goal kicking in the first half, that was a difficult one, but they kicked 3 goals, 6 in the first half from set shots alone. And have a look, they're all gettable opportunities that just went wide.
Yeah, you would have kicked a couple of these. They're disappointed because they had all that momentum, and we know it is a game of momentum. When you've got it, you've got to run with it, and that one just goes wide. But in the end, they kicked 6-6 to 7-1 from set shots.
That's the difference in the game.
Pretty much the difference in the game, you would think. Geelong got a few worries. There's clearly not the team that won the first 7 in a row. Their on-ball brigade is a bit of a concern. Their forwards just look a little bit pedestrian. Henry was subbed out of the game with some hamstring awareness, I think it was. So, yeah, it's not to say that there's not significant issues for the Cats. We probably clearly don't hold them as highly as what we did in the first couple of months of the season.
Let's get to the MCG now. That's where we find our Saturday star, and it is Hawthorn's Dylan Moore. Fantastic again. 27 disposals, 12 score involvements, kicked 5 goals. He's just such a fantastic little player.
He's kicked 21-3 for the year. It's amazing. He kicked 13-1 from set shots. We speak about accuracy so often and how it costs teams. Well, he's just doing simple things well, and it helps when you're kicking them from the goal line. Here's his work rate, though. This is what I love about him, and the freedom that he's been allowed to play with for probably 3 seasons now. He's able to come up the ground, get in behind his opponent. He's got the best, well, one of the best work rates of any of the small forwards in the game, and that's why he's so accurate, is because he's getting his shots from really damaging positions. So come back towards it, you like it, and then he's able to hit back up at the kicker here. So this behind the goals vision just highlights his work. He never stands still, ever.
Yeah.
And he's very good at getting in behind his opponent so he loses sight of him and then he can lead in any direction. And then there's just that, like he's just the ability to use the footy with absolute class. So I think the competition and everyone is starting to recognise that he is one of the best small forwards in the game.
I know you probably can't speak about it much, but probably all Australian conversation, certainly if he continues this form in the second half of the year. Hawthorn was able to just cut off every Adelaide kick in the forward half through their intercept work down back. They took 19 intercept marks for the match, and they did this with ease.
Yeah, and it's not just one. So the best intercepting teams, it's not just one player, because we've seen at Geelong, it's just Stewart, so you can limit him, and then that affects everyone. So love Sicily, love Weddle, Scrimshaw is having a very good year. Even D'Ambrosio took 4 intercept marks, so it really doesn't matter who it is. And Adelaide, we'll get to them in a moment, their poorest performance in a long, long time, and they've had significant issues with interceptors behind the ball right back to the start of the year when Stewart got a hold of them, Wiedering's got them, Pearce and Ryan got a hold of them. Today, again, it's Hawthorn getting a hold of them. So their forwards come up too high, they become irrelevant, the opposition drop back and get themselves into dangerous positions, and if the pressure is good up the field, they kick it straight back to you.
You mentioned Adelaide's midfield issues here, but this is their 3 biggest ball winners for the game. So Matt Crouch, Rory Laird and Jake Saligo. We've said, are they ineffective? We've said, are they too samey? So much of the footy, but just no impacts forward to centre.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's going out of the game. It's accumulators that don't do any damage when they get the footy in their hands. So look, count the number of disposals there and then add that up with your score involvements and your entries. They had 40 entries as a side. Plenty of the football, but they go nowhere. These 3 just... And he's been pretty good, to be fair. Yeah. Saligo, usually much more damaging than what he was today. Just the 3 score involvements, 3 inside 50s. But the top 2 just want to get junked. And getting junked just doesn't cut it. You'd much rather that be 22 like a Cripps and what he did, and we'll get to him in a moment. So those accumulators that go sideways, go short, over handball, they don't do any damage, and you saw that today. Those 3, no damage whatsoever. And once again, Hawthorn, terrific from stoppage.
All right, let's get to our Amy Clangers now. Who covers Clangers? Amy does. Have a look at this, Kane. Aussie the Eagle. Now, this is a mascot of West Coast that comes up every week at their home games. The Eagle flies around the ground. But on this occasion, he couldn't find his home.
Undisciplined, doesn't know what his task was, distracted, one job and couldn't fulfil that one job. So disappointing.
That's a brave lady, by the way.
Disappointing from the Eagle. Probably symbolic of the way that their last 3 seasons has gone.
It certainly is. All right, Amy Clangers for Good is up and running in season 2024. Amy is donating $10 to community footy for every clanger recorded over selected rounds, with 8 lucky local clubs across the season taking home up to $15,000. To enter, head to the URL on your screens now and tell us what the clanger donation would mean for your local club. Let's get to Friday night footy at Marvel Stadium, where 2 of the game's best went head-to-head. What a battle this was. Nick Daicos against Marcus Bontempelli.
This was unbelievable, and sometimes you just got to sit back and enjoy the show, and this was an absolute show. Daicos' first quarter right from the start, unbelievable. Bontempelli's last quarter, 14 touches, kicked a goal, 5 clearances in the last quarter alone. Most players be happy with that for a game, but you saw the first possession there from Daicos and that handball to Crisp. 25 first possessions. You go, what does that mean? Well, that is when you get the first touch off the ruckman's hand at a stoppage. 25 of them, I'm telling you, exclusively right here on the round so far, a record. No one has ever got 25 first possessions ever again. That led to 16 clearances, of course. Bontempelli magic as well. And I mean, he was just instrumental in the win. He went forward and was damaging as well. He's got to win a Brownlow, doesn't he, at some stage? If there's any player in the history of the game that hasn't won one that deserves one and has got very close, it is him, but those two might be fighting it out for it on Brownlow medal night.
He is going underrated, Marcus Bontempelli. He has been fantastic in the first half of the campaign. Sam Darcy was just about a difference maker in the forward half for the Bulldogs in this one. 12 disposals, 7 marks, 3 goals. When he gets full extension and is able to put his hands up like that, you can't stop him from marking it. All you can do is give away a free kick.
Yeah, you know, he's one of my favourites. Been raving about him for 12 months, and now it is all coming together for him. We'll get to the suspension in a moment and the way that his game started slowly and in undisciplined fashion. I did love the fact, so he got the suspension on Maynard and gave away the 50. Then he got too close and ran through the protected area, gave away another 50. Luke Beveridge got him off and sat him on the bench and got him on the phone and pretty much gave it to him in a calm and measured manner. I loved it. You never ever see it, and coaches should do more of it. So here's the one that's going to cost him 2 weeks and any shot at winning the Rising Star now that Harley Reed will be out. And also the fact that he gave away another undisciplined 50 and Luke Beveridge got him off, had a chat to him. The old-fashioned dragging. Never see it. Thought it was very, very good coaching. And it was a credit to the young man who was able to put that distraction behind him and go on to be one of the match winners on Friday night.
So he'll miss games against Brisbane and Fremantle. Collingwood's injury list is stacking up, continued to stack up in the lead up to this one. So have a look at this. They've got so many players out, so many key players out as well. Jordan De Goey, Jamie Elliott, you see there. You'll turn the page and Scott Pendlebury's missing for the next little bit. Tom Mitchell's out still. So heaps of really important players. Can they win the flag with this injury list? And I'm not saying because it's still going to be this way in September, but I think in this day and age, you almost need to be top 2, top 4.
Can they make the 8 with that injury list? That's what I would say. Now, the Western Bulldogs at times, you're going, are they going to, surely they're going to go on and win this game against half of a VFL side. And eventually they did, but just thought Collingwood were terrific for 3.5 quarters in that game. Like, you'd almost treat that as a win with the way that they played and the way they were taken to a very good and talented side in the Bulldogs. But they're going to have to get some players back. A lot of those ones, though, are long-term. 4 and 8 they are without Pendlebury since 2018. So his leadership, his direction, and I guess his brilliance just shows when he's not there, they struggle to win. So, yeah, I think there'll be some questions whether they can actually make the 8, let alone win the premiership, unless they get some players back pretty soon.
Let's get to Thursday night footy at the Adelaide Oval now, where Carlton just blew Port Adelaide away in the final term. And it was all done through the midfield, 7-1 in Q4 alone from stoppages.
Yeah, it was. I mean, this is always, in the Michael Voss era, this has been their strength from stoppage. The power and the burst from stoppage, just unbelievable. Now, he got lucky with that one, Cripps. He was just sort of puffed and hanging out on the end, but his ability to finish. His first 3 minutes of the last quarter, he kicked 2 and had 4 score involvements. There's another. Everything he touched led to a goal for the Blues. So it was just like put the foot down and bang, we're going to put this game to bed and we're going to remind the rest of the competition that, yep, Sydney is the team to beat, but we are not that far behind them. So to go to Adelaide and beat Port Adelaide for the first time and do it in this fashion, great off turnover, devastating from stoppage, pretty much an even contribution across the board. Thought Mackay was great. Curnow played his role. Down back, they're rock solid. They look much better with McGovern and Sard back into the side. And the midfield's just powerful, led by the young ruckman De Koning, who had another 18 and 8 clearances. And that's just his midfield now. It's just his, away you go. Pitnet is the backup if anything happens. But De Koning is the prototype ruckman, and he's playing like that.
Alex Cincotta put the brakes on Zach Butters, one of the best players in the competition throughout this game. I want to show you how he did it, Kane. This is from behind the goal. So Cincotta starts out of the square. Clearly the Blues, in case they win the clearance, they don't want Cincotta being in there. But then he quickly switches over. And he did this throughout the entire night. So Zach Butters started on Elijah Hollins in this clearance situation. But Cincotta goes in there, covers him, kept him to 24 touches, but barely any influence on the game. He had his lowest metres gained total throughout the entire season. And Chigota's done that a couple of weeks in a row now because he did against Tuke Millett last week.
Turning into a very good coach, Michael Voss. He's got all bases covered. I thought the fact that he got Port Adelaide off turnover with their ball movement, they were very slow and methodical. They were prepared to go long down the line and win a contest. He got his matchups right again. And coming from half forward is smart because then you get an on-baller, as you said, Holland's ducking out forward. It can confuse the defence as well. And for him to, Butter's numbers look okay, but 199 metres gained is lowest for the season, as you said, and clearly wasn't the influential, damaging player that everyone knows that he can be.
Now, you want to speak about Port Adelaide and their over-possessing of the footy.
Yeah, they worked on this clearly in the off-season, and they want to go fast. And there's a time and a place to go fast, and there's a time when you get the ball in the right hands and the right players to go fast. Lachie Jones is not that player to go fast. Ivan Soldo is not. Ratugolea is not. They were kamikaze with their ball use. That when you're out, give your forwards an opportunity. You're out, kick it now. But the fumble, that invites the pressure. Carlton's 7 goals off turnover. I just thought they got their whole game plan and ball movement wrong. And you're not giving your forwards a chance in one-on-one opportunities when you continually muck around with the footy. Kick it there. And don't be afraid to kick an ugly, ground ball inside forward 50 and give your small forwards and your tall forwards a shot. So I just thought they overpossessed the footy, far too risky, and Carlton brought the pressure that they always do and were able to score off it. And I thought they had a poor night from the coach's box.
What about Port Adelaide's backline? Because Charlie Curnow and Harry Mackay had an impact again in this one. So that's last year, rounds 1 to 23 last year when Port Adelaide made that such a great start. Points against is relatively similar. They brought in Salva Ratugolea and Brendan Zerk-Thatcher over the off-season. There weren't too many key defensive options out there, it must be said. But have they done enough to improve the backline, do you think?
Yeah, I'm not critical of the tools because if you'd wheeled out Mackenzie and a retired Tom Jonas, we'd be all going, what are you doing? Tom Cleary. Like they didn't have they had one key defender above the height of 188. So they had to do something. And to bring in Ratugolea and to bring in Zerk-Thatcher, I actually think they've been okay. What I am critical of is their medium to small defenders. They've been awful. So when you look at Ryan Burton, when you look at Lachie Jones, when you look at Bergman, who we thought was emerging as a star last year, hasn't been able to bed down a key defensive spot. They've tried to play him wing, they've tried to play him a bit on ball. So at the end of the year, they need to decide whether their small group of defenders, their smaller players, are good enough to take them where they want to go, because I'm telling you, Lachie Jones and Ryan Burton aren't right now.
Been a bit of a tweak in the holding the ball rule so far this week. The AFL came out and put on the agenda that the whistle was going to blow earlier. What have you made of it?
I actually like it because what it's doing is it's making the players play with some urgency. They know that they just can't take the ball and absorb the tackle. Now, some would say you can't penalise the player making a run and making a play for the footy, and that, there's definitely a little bit of that. You've got to give them maybe a touch more time to get rid of it, but players know that, okay, I can't just absorb the tackle and be spun in a 360 and be okay with it. So I think it's been a good change.
So do I. Let's get to the rest of the round now. A couple of games still to come. Melbourne and Fremantle up in the Alice Springs. That's tomorrow. That kickstarts our action. And then Gold Coast against Essendon at People First Stadium. That's going to be a really important game for both sides.
Couple of good games there. Looking forward to both of those.
It's going to be great. Kane, thanks for your help tonight, and we'll see you next week.